Hi guys, how are you? And welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, we'll be building this to-do list with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript. In this to-do list, you can add a task, you can edit a task, you can delete a task, you can also mention date and time when adding a task, and on page refresh, the data will not be lost, right? So we're going to see each and everything. So let's come to this input field and we're going to write some text. Here I'm saying that adding a text, and then after that, I'll click on this add task button. This will going to add this adding a text line to this list, right? Now in case I need to edit this task, right? So I'll just click on this edit task button, and here now instead of adding a text, I'm saying that editing a text, right? And then I'm going to click on this OK button in this prompt. And here you can see that in the list, this task is edited as editing a text, right? Now if in case I want to delete this task, so I'll just going to click on this delete task button, and this will going to delete this task, as you can see here. Now let's say whenever I'm adding a task, then you can see that this date and time is also coming, right? So this is the beauty of this to-do list application, which we're going to create in this video tutorial. Also, if I'll show you one thing, that on page refresh, this data is not lost, right? You can see that I'm clicking on this page refresh, and you can see that the data is not lost, right? So next, we're going to see the folder structure of this to-do list to get started with the coding part. Now, I'll be making one folder in my computer, and I'll name it as JavaScript to-do list, right? I'll open this folder, and then here I'll come and just write cmd, and I'll hit the enter button from my keyboard. Next I'll write code dot, and then I'll hit the enter button from my keyboard, and this will going to open my Visual Studio Code. Then after this, I'll come here and make one index.html file. Next I'll come here and make one style.css file, and then after that I'll make one script.js file. Now after making these files, I'll come to this extensions, and here make sure you will install these extensions. First of all, here in the search bar I'll type live server, and here you can see that in my case this live server extension is showing as uninstalled because I've already installed this on my VS Code. In your case, if it is showing as installed, so make sure to install this live server extension. Next thing is I'm going to install this auto rename tag, right? I'm talking about this extension auto rename tag John Han. Make sure to install this extension as well. And the last extension that we'll be requiring for this project is this prettier code formatter, right? Yes, this one. So make sure to install this extension as well for making of this to-do list project. Next, in index.html file, you'll just write HTML file, and then you're going to write this HTML structure, right? Here in the title, you can name it as JavaScript to-do list, right? And just above the title, just write link tag, and here you're going to connect your CSS file. And before the closing of this body tag, connect your JavaScript file as well. So here you write script src script.js, right? So in this way, your HTML file is connected to your CSS file as well as with your JavaScript file. So next we'll be starting with index.html file. Now in the body tag of the HTML, I'll make one div with the class as to-do container, right? And in this div, I'll write one heading, and here I'll say that this is JavaScript to-do list, right? Okay. Next, I'll make one more heading, and this heading I'll say this will be h2 heading, right? And here I'll write watch full tutorial on YouTube channel, and then I'll use one anchor tag, and here I'll mention the link as https youtube.com/course by Sid, right? I'll say that this will going to open in new tab, so I'll just write target blank, and here I'll say as course by Sid, right? Save this, and let me see why it is coming. So I'll just quick paste, and I'll disable this, right? Okay. Next, after this h2 heading, I'll make one more div with the class as input container, right? And here I'll write input. Input type will going to be text, and ID also I'll mention over here as this task input, right? I'll give one placeholder and I'll say that add a new task. Then after this, I'll make one button, and here I'll say on click, right? And let me write the function name. I'll say add task, right? And here I'll say this add task, right? Now, just after the closing of this div, I'll make one UL tag over here, and ID here I'll provide it as task list, right? Now that's all for this HTML file. Next, we'll see the style.css file and script.js file. Here I have mentioned one function on click add task, right? This thing we're going to see in the script.js file, right? So for this moment, I'll just come here on this index.html file and I'll open it with the live server. So let me see how it looks like. You can see here it is starting, it is taking time, and now it has started. So here you can see that it is right now it is showing like this, right? So we'll need styling sheet, that is style.css sheet. So we'll come to our Visual Studio Code and open our style.css file, right? Now in style.css file, the very first thing which I'm going to style is the body. So I'll say body, and then here I'll say font family, and this one I'm going to select, right? Okay. Next up, I'll say that the margin will going to be 0, and padding will also going to be 0. The display will going to be flex, and justify content, this will going to be in center. Align items will also be in center, and height is equal to 100 VH. The last thing is the background color. So I'll say HBA, and here I'll say 192, 192, and 192, 0.593, right? I'll open my browser, and here you can see that now it is looking like this, right? So it looks good. We'll further see the styling. So I'll open my index.html file, and here I'll copy this to the container class, right? I'm going to style this one. So I'll just say dot since it's a class, and here I'll say that the background color, this is going to be white. Box shadow also I'll provide over here, and this I will say that 0, 0, 10 pixel, and then here also color also I just need to mention. So I'll say RGBA, and this one is going to be 0. This one is also 0. This one is also I'll say that this is 0, and this one is 0.1, right? Fine. Next thing is I'll say that the padding will be 20 pixel, and border radius, this will going to be 8 pixel, and color is going to be, let's say, star color is going to be, let's say, hash 45 and A0 and 49, right? Okay, yeah, good. Next thing is we'll say the font weight, this will going to be bolder, and font style also I'll say that this one is going to be oblique. Just a second. Font style, this will going to be oblique, right? Now I'll open my browser, and it looks like this. Next I'll be styling this h1 and h2 heading, right? So I'll open my CSS file once again, and I'll say h1, and this I'll say that text line, this will going to be in center. Color also I'll mention, and I'll say that hash 333. Now I will style h2 heading, so I'll say h2. Here I'll say that text line, this will going to be in center, and the color, this will going to be same, right? And font size here I'll say that this is going to be medium, right? I'll save my file, and I'll come back to my browser. Yeah, so right now it is looking good. Next thing is I'll style this input container. Now I'll be styling this input container, so I'll copy this, and here I'll write dot, and then I'm going to paste this. Now I'll say that the display is going to be flex, and margin bottom, this will going to be 15 pixel. I'll save this, open my browser. Yeah, it looks like this. But next I'm going to style this input, right? So I'll just come here, and here I'll write just input, and then I'll say that the flex is going to be 1, padding of 8 pixel, border is 1 pixel, solid hash triple C, border radius also I'll say that this will going to be 4 pixel. Margin right, this will going to be 8 pixel, and color is going to be green, right? Okay, I'll come back to this browser, and here you can see that now if I'm writing anything in this add a task, add a new task, right, this input field, so you can see that I'm getting the text in green color, right? Yeah, so it is working fine, right? Next, I'll come to this index.html file, and I'm going to style this button, right? So I'll copy, and I'll paste it here in the CSS file, and here I'll say that the padding, this will going to be 8 pixel, background color, this will be hash 4CAF50, right? 50, right? This one. Next, I'll say that the color is this hash triple F, this color code. Border, I'll say that border will be none, and border radius also I'll mention over here. So I'll say that this border radius will going to be 4 pixel, and cursor will be pointer. Next, I'll say that this button on hover effect, right? So I'll say that the background color will going to be changed to hash 45A049, right? Change it to this color. After this, we're going to style this UL, unordered list, right? So I'll say UL, and here I'll say list style type. This will going to be none, and padding is going to be 0, right? Okay. Now I'll open my browser, and here I can see that currently it is looking like this. The only thing which is missing here is the icon in the heading, right? So for that, I'll open my GitHub account, and here I can see that here I have used this icon, right? So I'm going to copy and paste it in my HTML file. Here I'll be saying that I'll pasting here, and here also I'll paste. Then here I'll paste this symbol, this icon, and here also I'll paste this. I'll save my file, and I'll come back to my browser. So here you can see that this icon is perfectly coming, right? I'll also provide this link in the video description, so you can use this link from here. Also, if you can see that here I have created websites and applications, and here you can see that there are so many projects related to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Also, if you can scroll down a bit, so you can also get the repositories, right? And all these projects are also available on this YouTube channel, right? So if you are interested, you can check the same, right? Now I'll open my Visual Studio Code, and since we are done with the index.html file and style.css file, next thing is we're going to provide the functionality to this to-do list application, right? So for that, I'll open my script.js file, and here the very first thing which I'm going to do here is I'll write a function, and here you can see that we have already given a function name add task. So the first thing that we're going to do here is to add the task. So I'll copy and paste this function, and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to copy and paste it here in this script.js file, and now I'll write const task input, right? I'll say this equal to document dot get element by id, and here I'll open my index.html file, and here you can see that this id I have mentioned over here. So I'll be using this id, so I'm going to paste it here, and then after that I'll be saying const task list is equal to document dot get element by id, and then after that again I'll come back and check it from here that this is the list, task list, right? So I'll come here and I'll paste it here, right? Basically, why I have written these two lines, so it is used to get the references to the input and task list elements, right? Next thing is I'll check if the input value is not empty after trimming, right? So I'll say if this task input dot value dot trim, and this function after this we'll write is not equal to empty, and then after that I'll open this, and next thing is I'll create a new list item li element, right? And here I'll write const li is equal to document dot create element, and here I'll be saying li. So this will going to create this li element, right? And then after that, I'll be saying that to get the current date and time, I'll be writing const date time is equal to new date function, and after this I'll say const formatted date time is equal to date time to local string, right? Okay, after this we'll set the inner HTML of the li element with the task date, with the task text, date, edit task and delete button, right? So for that I'll be saying li dot inner HTML and then the equal to sign, and then after that I'll write uh, this span over here, and I'll be saying that within this span the class name is this task text, right? And I'll be closing this span also, span, and here I'll say that this is the task input dot value, right? After this, the next thing which I'm going to do here is I'll create one button, and here also I'll give one class. Let me edit this one also. Okay, and I'll give a class name here as edit button, right? After that I'll be saying that on click function, this is equal to edit task, and I'll use this keyword over here, and then after that I'm going to close this button first, this button tag, and here I'll write edit task, right? Next thing, here I'll be writing one more span. So simply what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy and paste it here, and here I'm going to say that this task text will now be task date, and here I'll first of all write like this. Yeah, fine. Okay, just a second. Yeah, now here next thing is I'll say this as formatted date time, right? After this I'll make one delete button also, right? So I'll come here and paste this, and here I'll say this as delete button, right? And on click this will going to be delete task, right? And rest remains the same, only I need to rename this thing, right? Delete task. Okay, looks good. After this I'll append the new li element to the task list. So for that I'll write task list dot append child, and here I'll pass li over here, right? After this I'll save task to local storage. So I'll say task save task to local storage, right? Store, let me check the spelling, local storage, save task to lo local storage, right? Yeah, so basically this saves your task to local storage, and then after this clear the input field after editing the task. So you'll say task input dot value, and you will going to clear the input field after adding the task, right? Next thing is we're going to make a function to delete a task from the list, right? So for that you'll write function, and here you write delete task, right? Basically this function I'm talking about, right? Delete task, and here we'll say we will pass btn, right? And next thing is to get references to the task list and the parent li element of the child button, we'll be writing here const task list is equal to document dot get element by id, and this is going to be task list, and after this we'll write const li is equal to btn dot parent node, right? Okay, after this thing we're going to remove the parent li element from the task list. So we'll write task list dot remove child, and here we'll pass li, right? Okay, now we're going to save task to local storage after deleting a task, right? So we'll say save task to local storage, and then after that we'll write like this, right? Okay, now we'll make a function to edit a task, right? So we'll write function and we'll write edit task, right? Here you can see that in this inner HTML we have already given this function edit task, right? And now we are making this function. So we'll say edit task, and here also we'll pass btn, and we'll write const li is equal to btn dot parent node. Similarly, we'll write task text element, and after this we'll write li dot query selector, and here we're going to say dot task dash text, right? After this we'll prompt the user for a new task text. So for that we'll be writing const updated task text, and this will going to be equal to prompt, and here we will say this edit task, and next thing is we're going to say task text element dot inner text, right? Okay, fine. After this we'll update the task text if user provided a valid input. So for that we'll write if, and we'll write updated task text, this is not equal to null, and at the same time updated task text dot print is not equal to empty, right? So in that case we'll be saying task text element dot inner text is equal to updated task text, right? And after that we're going to save this to local storage, right? Okay, now we have been seeing this function for a long time, save task to local storage, right? Now next we're going to make a function to save task to local storage. So for that I'll come here, and the very first thing which I'm going to do here is I'll write function, and after this I'm going to copy and paste this function name, right? So I'll copy and paste it over here, and then I'm going to provide the logic over here. So to get a reference to the task list, first thing I'll write const, and here I'll write task list is equal to document dot get element by id, and here this I'll say as task list, right? After this I'll create an array to store task object with text and date properties. So I'll write const tasks, and this array I'll make like this, and then after this we iterate through the children of the task list, right? So we'll write for, and here I'll say let I is equal to 0 and I is less than task list dot children dot length, right? And then we're going to increase the value of I, so we'll be writing I plus plus. After this, to get the task text and date from the spans inside each li, we'll be writing const task text is equal to task list dot children, and I'll write query selector, and here I'll write dot task dash text, and after this I'll write dot inner text. Okay, after this I'm going to copy and paste this one more time for date as well. So paste it over here, and here I'll say that this is going to be task date, right? and this task list will remain the same. Only here in the task test we'll write task date, right? After this, we're going to create an object representing the task with text and date properties. So we'll write const task is equal to text dot task text, and we'll write date, and this will going to be task date, right? Okay, fine. Now after this, we're going to add the task object to the task array. So we'll write task, right? This task dot push, and then this task, right? We'll pass over here. Okay, then we'll come out from this for loop, and here we're going to save the task array to local storage as a JSON string. So we'll write local storage dot set item, and here we'll write tasks, right? And then we'll write comma, and then we're going to write JSON dot stringify, and then we're going to pass this task, right? Yeah, okay. Now after this function, we're going to make a function to load tasks from local storage on page load, right? So here we'll say that function, and then we'll say load tasks from local storage, right? Local storage. Okay, and then after this, we're going to get a reference to task list, right? So we'll write const task list, and this is going to be document dot get element by id, and here we'll write this task list. Fine. After this, we'll retrieve the task array from local storage or an empty array if it doesn't exist, right? So we'll write const task, and here we'll write JSON dot parse, and after this we'll write local storage dot get item, and here for task, just a second, task, right? And we'll be using or operator over here, and then we're going to make an array like this. Okay, just a second. Yeah, in other words. Okay, so we'll JSON parse, and we're going to make this local storage to get the item, and we're going to get from this task, right? Or this is going to be the empty one, right? Basically what I'm doing here is we are retrieving the task array from local storage or an empty array if it doesn't exist, right? Okay, so next thing is we're going to iterate through the task array and add each task to the task list. So for that we'll be saying that task dot for each, and here we'll be saying this task, and after this we'll say const li is equal to document dot create element, and we'll be saying li over here, and after this we'll be writing the li dot inner html, right? And now we're going to write the span and buttons over here. So what I'm doing here is, just to save my time, I'm going to copy and paste this, right? So I'm going to copy here from here, and then after this here I'm going to paste this, right? So here I'll be saying that span class task test, okay, and here we'll be saying that this one is going to be task dot text, right? Okay, button, this is going to be the edit button, on click, edit task, this is going to be same. Here we're going to say that this is going to be now task dot date over here, right? Okay, and this delete button, okay, this is going to be same. After this we're going to write task list dot append child, and we're going to pass this list li, right? Fine, looks good. Okay, yeah, just a second. Okay, yeah, this function is closing over here, and this for loop is also here, right? Okay, great. Yeah, so after this we're going to load task from local storage when the page is loaded, right? So we'll write document dot get element by id, or we'll say document dot add event listener, and this will going to be dom content loaded, comma, we'll be saying load task from local storage, right? And then we're going to save our JavaScript file, right? So this is all now. Now here in the style.css file, there are few things which we're going to style over here, right? So here we can see that after this UL, the next thing which we're going to style is the li, right? So we'll write li, and then we'll be saying that this margin bottom, this will going to be 10 pixel, and display, this will going to be flex. Also we'll say that the justify content, this will going to be space between, and align items, this will going to be in center, right? After this we're going to style the delete button also, right? So we'll say delete dash ptm, and here we're going to say that the background color, this will going to be ff, and then this 4 times 3, right? This color code, we'll use this color also, hash ff, and then after this we'll say that the border, here this border is going to be none. Padding also will provide here as 4 pixel and 8 pixel. Border radius, this will going to be 4 pixel. Cursor, this will going to be pointer, right? Similarly, for the edit button, what I'm doing here is I'll first of all copy and paste it over here, right? And here I'll write edit button, right? Cool. Here I'll give the color code as 4079 and this ff, right? This color code. Also I'll be saying that this color will be triple F, okay? This border, okay, none. Padding will be 4 pixel and 8 pixel. Border radius, this will going to be 4 pixel, okay? And cursor, this will going to be pointer. Also here I will mention 2 more things. I'll say margin right, this will going to be 5 pixel, and margin left, this will going to be also 5 pixel, right? Yeah, looks good. After this we'll provide hover effect to the delete button. So we'll say delete button, and then we'll use this hover property, and we'll say that the background color, it will be E6, and then this 0, right? Okay. Now after this we're going to style our last class, that is this task date, right? And here we'll say that the font size, this will going to be 0.8 em, and color, this will going to be blue. Also we'll say that the margin left, this will going to be 5 pixel, and margin right also, we'll say that this will be 5 pixel, and font weight is going to be bold, right? Okay, now I'll save this, and here I can see that this, okay, this BA, okay, and spelling mistake is there. Okay, now here we can see that we are done with the index.html file, style.css file, and the script.js file. Next thing is we're going to open our browser, and here we can see that if you write something over here and click on this add task, so right now it is not working. So let me come back to my Visual Studio Code and check this script.js file. Okay, so here I can see that at line number 6, this task input dot area value max. Okay, this will going to be value. I think by mistake I have written over here. So this I'll write task input dot value. Also I'll check the further code also. And here you can see that li inner HTML. So on this at line number 15, right, in this button, right, you can see that I haven't closed this enclave. So here I'll be saying, just a second, this I'll be closing like this, and here also as well, right? I will quickly come at the end also, and yes, here you can see that this is also not closed. So let me close here also as well. Now, yeah, okay, yeah, yes. So now we'll again open our browser, and now if I'll add, or I'll just say add a task, right? I have written this only in the input, and let me click on this add task. So yeah, you can see that this is now working. Okay, I'll say that this is working, and I'll click on this add button, and here you can see that this is working perfectly fine. You can also see that the date and time is also coming, right? And if I'll click on this edit task, and I'll say that add a task, and let me say that done. Okay, so here you can see that this text is updated when you click on this edit task, right? Also we'll check this one also. So I'll just add 111 over here, and you can see that this is working fine. In case you want to delete, so let's check the delete functionality. So yeah, it's working perfectly fine, right? You can add so as many as you want. 1, 2, 3, then this 4, right? So how many tasks you want to add, you can add like this, right? And similarly, you can close this as well, right? So 1, 2, whatever text you need to display, you can add like this, right? Also, you have the option to delete the task, right? And the best part which I like about this is, like, whenever you are adding a task, so you are also getting the date and time, right? So you can in future, if you want to refer that on which date this task was added, so you have the functionality to check the same, right? Now we have successfully built a JavaScript to-do list. Next thing is we're going to deploy this on GitHub so that we can share it with our friends, family, or anyone on the internet. So for that, now open your Chrome browser and in the Google search bar, just type GitHub. Then here, click on this login. Once you'll be logged in to your account, you will be redirected to this page. Come here and click on this your profile section, right? And then after that, click on this plus icon to create a new repository, right? Here in the repository name, I'm giving JS to-do list, right? This JS to-do list is available, and in the description, I'll be saying JavaScript to-do list, and it is created with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So in the description, I have written this. I'll make this repository as public only, and then I'll add one README file over here, right? After this, I'll click on this create repository button, and this will create a repository for me in the GitHub. After this, I'll click on this add file button, and then I'll click on this upload files. Now it is saying that drag files here to add them to your repository or choose your file. So the easiest way which I am adopting over here is I'll open my folder and then I'm going to select the files which I need to upload. So I'll click on this index.html file, script.js file, and style.css file, right? I'll select these files, and in the browser, I'm going to drop my files here to upload. You can see that each of my files are uploading one by one, and now it is uploaded, right? In the commit changes, I'll be writing one message. I'll say uploaded, and then I'll click on this commit changes. Now it is processing your files. This may take few minutes, right? And here you can see that it is working very fast and it has uploaded all your files. Now in the settings, I'll come here and check under the code and automation. There is one pages section, right? If I can scroll a bit and show it to you. So next we are going to click on this pages, and after this we're going to select the branch, right? So we'll select this main branch, and then we're going to click on the save button. Now after some time, your project will be hosted on GitHub, right? So just click here and click on this your profile button, and from here, or you'll just come here on your repositories, and then you're going to open your repository which you have just created right now, and here you can see that it is still in progress, right? So just refresh the page, right? And then you will get the deployment section here, right? Here you can see that deployment waiting, right? So it is still in progress. So keep on refreshing the page until unless it is said that deployment is successful. Right now it is showing deployment in progress. Just click and refresh the page, and just refresh the page once again. And here you can see that now the deployment is successful. Just click on this GitHub pages, and here you can see that this is your link, https://github.io js to-do list, right? Just click on this link, and here you can see that now your JavaScript project is hosted successfully on GitHub. Now let us see the functionality also. So here I'll be adding one task. Let's say here I'm saying that today is Friday, and I'll click on this add task button. Next thing is I'm saying that today is holiday. Okay, and then I'm going to click on this add button. So here you can see that it is also displaying the time, and you also have the option to edit and delete task, right? So let's say here I'll click on the first one, edit task, and I'll say that today is Sunday, right? And then I'll click on this okay. So here you can see that now it is updated successfully, and it is showing over here as today is Sunday, right? And also I'll say that I'll be saying just week 51, right? And I'll add this task. Now let's say suppose I want to delete the task, right? So I'll click on this delete task button, right? Also you can see that if I'll click any of the delete task, it is deleting your task, right? So we have successfully created this project, and also we have deployed this project on GitHub, right? And the best part about this application is, like, whenever you are adding a task, so it is also displaying the date and time, right? So let's say in future you want to see that when this task was created, so you have the option to see that this task was created on this particular date and the time was this, right? So this is the beauty of this JavaScript to-do list which we have created just now. Now I hope guys that you have liked this video tutorial. And if you are interested in making more projects like calculator application, weather application, login and sign up page, making a responsive website, making of analog and digital clock, then you can access this project playlist on this YouTube channel. Also, if you are interested in learning more on HTML, CSS and JavaScript, then you can access these playlists as well. Right? I'll provide the link in the video description. So if you are interested, you can check the same. And guys, one more thing, if you are new on this channel, then I'll request you to kindly please subscribe this channel so that you can get the latest update from this channel, and also you can able to watch more videos like this. So thank you, that's all for this video, and I'll hope to meet you soon in the next video. Thanks for now.